back to the kitchen. Today we're going to be making some leftover soup. So basically things that are left over from other recipes, we're going to put it all together and make some soup along with some new ingredients, of course. So you saw me chopping up the vegetables. So I have carrots, onions, and 4 cloves of garlic. And then I'm also going to be using some chicken bone broth left over here. I also have some pumpkin puree from the can I stuck it in the freezer after I used it for the pumpkin pancakes video. So it's been in the freezer ever since. So I thawed it out and we're going to put that in our soup. Also the tomato sauce with my fresh garden tomatoes, which I showed you how to make the tomato sauce in another video, and that's also been in the freezer ever since that video. So it's now thawed out. Also a nice can of beans. These happen to be pinto beans. A lot of times I like to put a lot of different kinds of beans in. Right now I just have 1 can. And I'm also going to be using rosemary and thyme from the garden, black pepper, and crushed red pepper. And I'm including a little bonus on how to refill your pepper mill, at least if you have one that's similar to mine anyway. I'm making a smaller batch today because I don't have a whole ton of ingredients today. So I'm using my smaller sauce pot instead of the big stock pot. Okay, I have my stove turned on to medium or medium high, and I'm going to put some olive oil in the bottom of the pot. Okay, I'm just going to put this little itsy bitsy onion sliver into the pot to see if my oil is hot enough. Okay, it's sizzling, so it's hot enough. Alright, so normally when you're cooking soup, I start out with the oil and then I saute the vegetables on medium to medium high. You start off with your harder vegetables like onion and carrots because those take longer to cook. So we're going to put those in first, along with our garlic, because garlic gives flavor to everything else. So we're going to also put that in first. Alright, also we want to add our herbs here at this early stage where we're sauteing the hard vegetables, because that's going to allow the flavors to get infused into the soup from the very beginning rather than adding them later. During the soup making stage, this gives you a stronger flavor. So I'm crumbling up the dried thyme here. You can see what it looks like. Next, the rosemary. And I'm trying not to hold my herb jar too close to the steaming pan, because you don't want a bunch of steam. You don't want condensation and steam getting onto your herb container. It will make your herbs not last as long. Right, so we're just going to saute like this, keeping the vegetables moving until the onions start to look slightly translucent, and any more colorful vegetables are going to get a more intense color. That's how you're going to know that you sauteed it long enough. So I think I'm just about there. Okay, and then keep in mind that we don't want to saute these until they're too soft, because we're also going to be adding all these other ingredients and then bringing it to a boil and then simmering for at least 15 to 20 minutes. So they're going to get cooked even more during that process, which is why I'm not sauteing them for too long. Just enough to make the colorful vegetables get bright and the onions get slightly translucent and you can smell the herbs. Okay, so I forgot to show you earlier that we're also going to be using these green peppers from the library's garden. So I forgot to cut those up earlier. I'm going to cut them now. Because it's a softer vegetable, we don't put them in during this stage because otherwise they would get overcooked. So I'm going to turn this down so it doesn't overcook in the meanwhile and chop these up. Okay, and unfortunately the place where I normally put the camera is right there where the hot pan is right now. So in order to give you a view of the peppers, I'm just going to show you like this. So I've cut this pepper in half, and you can see the seeds are embedded in that white part there in the middle. And also here's the stem. So basically I'm just going to reach in and pull out the stem and the cavity with the seeds at the same time. And there's a little bit left in there still. There's a little bit left in there, so I'm just going to pull out that last little bit. And then I'm just going to tap it on my cutting board to get out any seeds that were stuck on the inside. Alright, I'm going to put my pot back on, turn it back on to medium-high. Alright, I'm going to add my green peppers. I dice them up to about this size. It's up to you what size you want them, but just keeping in mind that this is going to be on a spoonful of soup that you're eating and you don't want it to be too huge of a piece. And I'm just going to clear away some of the ingredients that I'm not using right now anymore because I like to keep a clean kitchen while I cook. Otherwise it's hard to focus. Okay, you can hear it's getting up to a sizzle again, so we're going to start sauteing. I'm going to let this sit for just a second and open up this can of beans. I previously wiped off the top with the washcloth just because it's been in the store, you never know. So I always wipe off the top before I open it. Just be careful of the sharp edge. If you have any type of can opener like I do that leaves a sharp edge, certain kinds of can opener will leave a smooth edge behind, which is kind of nice, but I don't have that kind. I wanted the one with the pretty color instead. Alright, so these are starting to get a little bit cooked. We don't want them to get overcooked, like I said. They are very bright green. So I think it's time to add the liquids. Alright, next in the soup making stage, after you saute your vegetables in oil, is to add your liquid ingredients. So I'm going to add my broth. And at the same time, you also want to bring your heat up to high because we're going to bring this to a boil once we get all our liquids added. Right, and next we're going to add the beans. As you probably know, the canned beans, they come with this liquid. Some people just get rid of the liquid, but I always save it. It's really, really good for making a flavorful soup broth. So I'm just going to dump the whole thing in, liquid and all. Alright, and next our tomato sauce. And finally our pumpkin puree. Oh, looks like I forgot to add this before. Okay, so we're going to add some of this now because I want it to be a little bit spicy. You can see how pretty it looks, and it's starting to get nice and hot. I'm going to stir everything together. Alright, I'm going to put my lid on to help this come to a boil faster. And we'll be back once it boils. Alright, as you can see, we're definitely at a boil. I'm going to stir this quick before it starts to stick to the bottom. I just turned the heat down to medium. Alright, we're going to be letting this simmer for probably 15 to 20 minutes. You can do it longer if you want to let the flavors blend together more, or if your soup is too watery and you want to let it cook down. Mine's already pretty thick, so I'm not concerned about that. But I would say at least 15 to 20 minutes, that's the minimum that you want to let your soup simmer before you serve it. Alright, so that is more of a simmer now. The bubbles are smaller, they're not coming up quite as often, although it's still going a little more strongly than I would like it to. Alright, I did take the pot off the heat for a few minutes, just because it just doesn't seem to want to calm down here. And I'm going to turn the heat down even further to medium-low. And I'm going to put the lid on just part way open like that, so that most of the heat stays in but some still escapes, because we don't want it to go out of control again. We just want a little simmer. We'll be back in 15 to 20 minutes. Alright, my soup is done simmering. I did forget one important step, which is that while it's simmering, you should stir it from time to time, and just so it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pot. So mine actually did stick a little bit, but not too badly. And it did also thicken up quite a bit, so I'll show you. As you can see, it thickened up a lot. So what I have right now is really more of a stew or a chili than a soup, but actually stew or chili is even better on a cloudy day like today than soup would have been. So it's all turned out well. Okay, thanks for joining me in the kitchen today. I hope that you have fun making a nice delicious pot of soup or chili or stew with some of your leftover ingredients at home. Have a great week and see you again next time. Bye!